dies. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
Be careful,
Tonight
kids.
at 7 p.m. Eastern
Like
on
that.
ESPN, The Rankings.
I'm going turtle hunting. Let's go.
Hey, Daniel, listen, you know it's Halloween and everything like that, so I was just, do you think this one time maybe, would you mind dressing in a costume today?
Dressing in a costume for the fantasy show.
All rise. Oh, Phil, thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
I'm sorry. I didn't read the script. I thought you said streaky.
Same tired thing about the whipped cream bikini.
I am dressed like a tool. Oh, there is. Let's talk about
Terrell Pryor.
Pull out, America. Okay, but just this once.
Thanks.
The Fantasy Show is presented by E-Trade. And now, your host, Matthew Scarry.
Thank you, Jeff, the sexy fish. We are the Not Ready for E1 Slayers. Our promise to boo. In the next 30 minutes, we will make you a smarter fantasy player and a much scarier person. Today on the show, we're talking Jay Ajayi, Jimmy Garoppolo, and players you should get on the waiver prior. So, Secret Pyre, what kind of spooktacular show will we have?
Oh, scary. But probably still pretty boring.
That's fair. I believe that. Now, when it comes to scary names in the NFL, it probably gets no better than Jay Ajayi. Ajayi! Nailed it, Daniel. So, you know, it's fitting that the Dolphins traded their starting running back and a top 12 pick in preseason fantasy drafts on this, All Hallows Eve. It's a nice move to shore up the run game for the Eagles, but what does it mean for fantasy? All right, well, everyone who has Ajayi on the roster, this is a delicious fantasy treat. Struggling with the Dolphins, Ajayi now has a very real shot at becoming the stud RB1 you drafted in the first place. Will he average the 22 touches a game he was getting in Miami? No. But as Adam Kaplan reported on Twitter, Philadelphia was frustrated with the inconsistency of LeGarrette Blount. Eagles running backs as a whole average 28.4 touches a game, so it's very easy to assume Ajayi gets at least half of those. 15, 16 touches a game for Ajayi on a Philadelphia offense that is number one in time of possession, top 5 in rushing yards per game, and will be in scoring opportunities much more often than Miami? That'll work. Consider this. This year, LeGarrette Blount, 10 rushes inside the 5-yard line, that's second most in the NFL. He's only scored one time, not particularly efficient. The Eagles, on a whole, have run the ball on 47% of red zone snaps, while the Dolphins have run the ball on just 33% of red zone snaps. Ajayi has had only one carry into the 5-yard line all season. Now, the Eagles don't have Jason Peters on the line. That hurts. They played Denver this week, not ideal. And they do have a bye in Week 10, so Ajayi is going to have his second bye week this year. But still, this move is a great way. It's a totally great one for Ajayi's fantasy value. Now in Miami, our NFL Nation Dolphins reporter James Walker reports the starting running back likely to be Kenyon Drake. Yeah, that's right. The name Drake will be associated with an awful team for the first time. So weird. Miami's third-round pick a year ago, the Dolphins obviously believe in him. Look, Ajayi's looked slow at times behind Miami's line this year, struggling to hit the few holes there were. While Drake, Kenyon that is, has 4.4 speed. Damian Williams also going to be in the mix here, but I believe Drake is the Miami running back you want. If you even want him. Look, don't go crazy trying to get him. Remember, Dolphins haven't scored a rushing touchdown all year. They're 21st in time of possession, and when Ajayi was there, he was contacted at or behind the line of scrimmage, the third most in the NFL, right? This line has not played well all year. Drake is definitely worth a grab if you need a running back. He will get work, and it's a good matchup with Oakland this week, but he's merely a low-end RB2 until we've seen something. So Ezekiel Elliott suspension / non-suspension / suspension / non-suspension / suspension back in the news. Now, I'm not a legal expert, but it does appear that it likely will begin in the next week or two for Ezekiel Elliott. Now, as I've said before, if Ezekiel Elliott misses games, I like Darren McFadden, then Alfred Morris with Rod Smith also likely getting some touches. McFadden has more of a history as a lead back than Morris, including in Dallas. He's far more of a threat in the passing game, and we're talking, of course, about PPR here. I know what Jerry Jones said on 105.3 The Fan. I still prefer McFadden over Morris slightly in PPR. In fact, both of them available in more than 60% of leagues, but frankly, neither of them will be RB2 or flex option better than that. Oh, It's tipper-treaters at the door. I'll give them some tips and treats.
Hey, Barry, how you doing?
Hey, Strawman, who are you supposed to be?
Who am I supposed to be? I'm a recorder, you dope. But I ain't here to play hot cross buns. I'm here for that delicious candy. Get me some sweet treats so I can slip them up into my straw person.
Okay, well, actually, I'm going to give you some tips instead. Look, if you can't get McFadden or Morris on the waiver wire, or even if you can, the top free agent running backs this week, Alex Collins of the Ravens. He's available more than 65% of leagues. He's now the clear lead back on a team that, frankly, struggles to throw.
That was the toothbrush of fantasy tips.
Frequent brushing is the basis of dental health, Strawman, and it's very important, you know, to... Oh, it's another tipper-treater.
Hey, Barry, how you doing?
Oh, hey, Norby. It's my boss, Norby, everyone. Norby, who are you as?
Who am I? I'm Captain America. You're really terrible at this whole synergy thing, my friend. But Captain America's a great leader. He's a hero. He makes me think of, I don't know, anybody. You know, maybe LeBron. The costume shop was out of LeBron jerseys.
Fair enough, Norby. Makes sense, yeah. Both Captain America and LeBron are heroes. My tip for you, Norby, Dion Lewis, available more than 50% of leagues, should be on your team. Not this week, then how about next week when the Patriots come off their bye? His carries have increased from 2 to 4 to 7 to 11 to 13 to 15 over the past 6 weeks, I should say. I know Burkhead's been more involved, and you got James White as well, but Dion Lewis, the closest thing to a lead running back on one of the best offenses in the NFL.
Yeah, I've never heard of that person.
All right, well, look, obviously, it's a mixed backfield there in New England, but I do think for between the tackles, Dion Lewis is going to be the... Oh, another tipper-treater.
Oh, wonder who that
Oh, it's a fire! It's a fire, Matthew! Oh, what the? That was a bag of bear poop.
Buzzing.
Now, listeners, viewers, if you dare, to a tale of frightful QBs that should make every NFL team beware.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a hype Brady backup of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tweeting with our first notice that the trade deadline would not be a bore. Garoppolo has been traded to the Niners for a second-round pick. Only a pick and nothing more. Distinctly I remember it. It was the same with Matt Castle. They said he had a high ceiling and a very high floor. But he's become a forgotten backup, a nameless nobody, evermore. But then the hype grew even stronger. For a backup even longer, please, said the Texans. Give us Ryan Mallett, we implore. But he's failed at every stop and repeatedly been shown the door. Deep into failure peering, the Cleveland Browns also came appearing. They signed Brian Hoyer to a 2-year deal, along with options for more. But there he won just 10 games, only 10, and no wins more. And now Garoppolo, never fitting, still is sitting, on the pallid Niners bench, not getting snaps from center Dan Kilgore. Garoppolo nothing more than a possible late-season bye-week replacement, and only this and nothing more. Okay, so real quick, none of this rhymes, we ran out of it, unfortunately. But to be fair, we took that bit further than you thought we could, right? Exactly. Look, Garoppolo isn't starting in Week 9, but if you need a quarterback this week, here are my top 3 waiver wire quarterbacks available in a lot of ESPN leagues. Tyrod Taylor at the Jets, the best bet. He's available in about 35% of leagues, worth seeing if he's out there. He has been a top 10 quarterback each of the last 2 weeks. He's done well against the Jets in his career. If Taylor is gone, how about Josh McCown? Your next best option against the Bills. Top 10 quarterback this year. He's had 2 or more touchdown passes in 4 straight. Bills last in passing defense over the last 4 games. And then there's Jacoby Brissett at the Texans, 89% available. Listen, not great, but since week 3, he's been the 9th best quarterback in fantasy. Coming up, Stefania Bell, here with her injury minions to discuss week 8's biggest injuries. What is Stefania's costume? Here's a tip. She's feline good. Yeah, she's a cat. Stay tuned. Monday Night Football coming up. It's Lions Packers. Coverage begins, of course, 6 p.m. Eastern with Monday Night Countdown. And tonight on ESPN, we have the exclusive reveal of the College Football Playoff Top 25 rankings. That comes up tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Time now for Show Me Where It Hurts. Stefania Bell has joined us. She is in the Halloween spirit and brought her injury minions Fabricio and Marcello as well. Look at that, everyone. One of them's peanut butter, one of them's jelly. Look
Try
at
and
that.
guess which one is which.
Absolutely. All right, so you're a cat, I'm catch up. There you go. All right, Stefania, let's get into Leonard Fournette. Missed last week, of course, because of the ankle injury. Off the bye, what do we know? Or missed his last game, I should say.
Right, and you're sticking with the cat theme, talking about a jaguar.
Yep,
Let's see
there
where
you
we're
go. Yep,
going.
nice.
Yes, well, he had that unfortunate injury, knee hyperextension, but rolled his ankle. It actually sounded like maybe he could play in that last game, but they decided to rest him before the bye week. The good news coming out of the bye, some teams will practice on Monday to kind of get that extra day. He was out there working with his position group. Very good sign that you'll have him this weekend.
Third most fantasy points per game among running backs this season. Fantasy players very excited to get him back in the lineup. All right, Stefania, it feels like a weekly question. You know I love my Redskins. What's going on with number 86, Jordan Reed?
I do feel like I hinted at this before the season started.
you
And
did.
actually, if you go back to the preseason, he came to camp and started on the PUP list with a toe injury. So since that time, we had a toe injury in the preseason. We had a rib and SC joint injury that caused him to miss a game in week 3. And then now the latest, a hamstring injury. He goes out this week. Look, 2 weeks ago, he looked great. He was the Jordan Reed that everybody drafts in fantasy, right? He ends up with 8 catches, 64 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Last week, I think it was 1 catch for 5 yards. And the hamstring affects him. And here's what I don't like. Jake Gruden said at the start of the week, like on Monday, that he didn't expect him to play in week 9. If they're coming out that early, it's not like maybe and we'll see how he does.
Right.
It concerns you.
Right. They haven't
that
even
it
gotten
could
back
be
on the
more
practice
than
field.
what-
Like literally yesterday. It was just like, yeah, he's not playing. So
You've probably subbed in for him before, but if you haven't thought about it,
well, hopefully you get Vernon Davis, who has at least 13 fantasy points in 3 of the 5 games that he's played when Jordan Reed has missed there. Look, he's missed 2 games, at least 2 games, every single season of his career. Games at Seattle, you know, don't love that. But to your point, you're going to have to look for other options. Jack Doyle available in a ton of leagues, by the way, if you're looking for a tight end. Like Jack Doyle quite a bit, not a fluke from last week. All right, Stefania, another team off of a bye and an injury that's dealing with a player that's dealing with injury. What about Sterling Shepard?
he was so close to playing. Remember, he actually ran full speed in practice, gave that ankle a test, and thought that he might go, but the Giants opted to save him for a week. They've been using Evan Engram to catch passes for them. But I like the fact that Sterling Shepard got that extra week. Just makes you feel better as a fantasy owner about his potential. He, too, was out there doing work on Monday. I expect him to play in Week 9, and you should feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, you know what? And here's a guy that's available in 41% of leagues. As you're sitting here with buys, and you're like, oh, boy, you know, the Giants' offenses look poor. But if you look closer at the schedule, they've had some really tough matchups, and their schedule gets a lot easier in the second half now that they're out of the bye. I actually am pro Sterling Shepard, of course. You know, Marshall and Odell Beckham. I mean, he's going to be the number one target on a team that is going to have to throw. Again, 41% available. I think Sterling Shepard should be at the top of your waiver wire options at wide receiver if he's out there.
And you like to think that the extra rest probably helps as far as preventing re-injury. This is the ankle that he rolled originally in the preseason. So I think that bye week helps give you more confidence. You worry a lot when guys are coming off injury.
Yeah, sure.
How easy to aggravate it. Feel good about Sterling Shepard.
It's good. Now, here's my question. Do you feel good about Delaney Walker, Titans tight end, obviously, another guy coming off of a bye, but certainly banged up?
And he's a guy who did not practice on Monday for those teams who do the Monday practice. And Mike Mularkey said he kind of hinted at the fact that it was just an extra day because of coming off the bye and not overly concerned. We know Delaney Walker is tough. This is a guy who's missed one game or less in each of the last 5 seasons. He will want to be out there, but will he be able to be? That sprained ankle, he couldn't put weight on it. He was in a walking boot initially. I'm not saying it's a guarantee that he'll be out there this week. You really got to watch his practice as the week progresses.
And they play the Ravens, who have for the season, been pretty good against opposing tight ends. It's not a great matchup here. So I would seriously consider a tight end. Whether or not Walker plays, you may not want him in your lineup on Sunday. All right, Stefania, as long as we're talking about banged-up tight ends, one of my early round picks in the War Room League that you and I both play in together, Greg Olsen. He's been on the IR. Do we have some positive news? Is there anything coming out of Carolina about Greg Olsen?
We do. Greg Olsen saying that he expects to be ready when he's first eligible to play. That would be Week 12. It's the Thanksgiving Day or Thanksgiving week game for them. He had a Jones fracture. You know, that's a fracture of the long bone in the forefoot on the outside of the foot. So you have surgery, then you rest, then you start getting your range of motion strength back. Well, now he's going to be able to test it in practice, meeting with the medical staff, evaluating today, and then they'll decide how much he can do going forward. The fact he feels so good at this point, very, very encouraging.
Well, that's great news. By the way, available in 58% of leagues. So if you have the roster space available, pick him up and grab him. He'll be back very, very soon.
They're
Coming
a sandwich.
up after the break. Thank you, Minions. Thank you, Stefan.
Part of a fantasy football marathon. We're terrible and we're losing our minds.
That's your fantasy horror story. 28 hours of Matthew Berry. That's fantasy horror. You guys at home, you think you know, you have no idea.
So you know my co-host Daniel Dopp, right? Secret Squirrel. He's always trying to get into the show more. So it's Halloween. We figured we'd let him give his predictions for the rest of the season. Now that we're about halfway through the year. So, Daniel, we're going to let you take it away. And Secret Squirrel? And guys, where's Daniel? Secret Squirrel, where is he?
Where
Anyone?
am I,
Hello?
Matthew? Everything is so cold.
All right, Daniel, the Secret Squirrel, calm down. Just tell us what you see.
I don't know, Matthew. I think I might be in the upside down.
Yeah. Try and find a way out. But hey, while you're there, turns out there's a camera crew there, so you might as well give us your frightening predictions for the second half of the season.
I'll try. Marshawn Lynch. Oh, gosh. Oh, that's not even real. He's less than 7 fantasy points in 4 of his last 7 games, and his best weekly finish was running back 20 in week 5. You're not even supposed to make noises like that. I just don't think he's going to finish inside the top 30. I just want to close my eyes. Oh, I miss you, Matthew. Ty Montgomery. I think he finishes the season outside the top 20. The emergence of Aaron Jones. Oh, that guy's like Aaron Jones. He just comes out of nowhere and then he just steals. Oh, I don't like any of you. Field, is that you? Matthew, what have you done to Field? I don't want to go in that house. I hate you guys. I am never doing another thing for you again. Hey, hi, what's the fastest way to get out of here? Okay. I get it. Is it left or right? Hey, we'll leave. I'm trying to leave. It's just so bad. It's just so scary. What's that? Oh my gosh, I don't like this. I don't know what to do.
Go!
Where do I go? I'm gonna kill her! Oh no! Oh my gosh! Terrell Pryor! Terrell Pryor is wide receiver 6. Okay, I don't know! I think he finishes outside the top 40. No! Julio Jones ranks outside the top 10 in receptions and targets. He's just not delivering. Sorry, he's not going to finish inside the top 10. Okay, I knew you were real. Okay, I'm out. Matthew, those are my most frightening predictions for the rest of the season. Matthew, is that enough to bring me back? Please?
No, not quite, Secret Squirrel. We still need you to find Barb first. #Justice for Barb. All right, we're going to be back with today's edition of Don't Be This Guy, but first, a blind resume. Now, these spooky running backs are the top 2 fantasy running backs since week 5. One of them drafted in the first round, one of them barely drafted at all. Who are they? The answer after the break. Blind resume, the top 2 fantasy running backs since week number 5. Melvin Gordon. Oh, Jerick McKinnon, very spooky. Over 80 fantasy points and 4 touchdowns over that man. He's been fantastic. Whoa, Secret Squirrel Daniel, you're back.
I'm back, and I found Barb. How about that?
Hey, good job. See, I told you could do it.
Hey, I appreciate that. By the way, I'm never doing anything for you ever again.
Look at your contract, brother. You're doing stuff tomorrow.
Wow. You know that I don't want to do that.
I know. Here's today's Don't Be This Guy. It's you at the haunted house.
Oh, there's no fog. I feel